It's the RJ Ochoa Show on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. What's going on in Jerry's world? What's the latest from Cowboy Camp? Find out right here, Friday mornings at 7:30 and 9:30 with the manager and editor-in-chief of Blogging the Boys, RJ Ochoa. Here's Robin Rudy.
Boy, you get a fancy open and everything, except Rob and Rudy are both out. It's James and Jason. Yeah, J&J in the morning on this Friday. I'm Jason Minix. He's James Pledger in for Rob and Rudy and RJ Ochoa from bloggingtheboys.com. Less than a week away from Cowboys training camp, RJ. And I know we had you on the Blitz the other day on the day of the Zack Martin news, which up until then, the only real drama heading out to Oxnard was some people that live near the facility that are mad that Jerry put up another tent to entertain rich people. Now you got Zack Martin, and it's been so quiet ever since Zack tweeted out a new profile picture.
Yeah, sorry, I thought I was on mute. It's
This early in the morning, I understand it's hard to push buttons the right way.
Like when you would go to like Schlitterbahn or something as a kid, and you would get in like the like wave pool, and it would like the first wave would hit you, and then you were like, all right, this is gonna be the sickest thing of all time, and then it's like, oh, that's it. Like it's like there's no like monsoon. It's just like this little baby wave, like 10 hours. But it is a significant wave, and I think like, the ball's in the Cowboys' court right now, and they've got to get this figured out. Like we talked about on the Blitz the other day, I don't know that there will be any real drama with Zack Martin actually not showing up just because he's subject to being fined $50,000 a day, and those are fines that the Cowboys cannot waive even if they do agree to terms on a new contract with Zack. But there is a tension, I think, kind of floating in the air right now, which is, a bit nice, a bit comfortable. Just kind of given the way this team tends to roll. But right now it is a matter of just waiting and seeing, and just kind of seeing what ultimately happens and how pissed off Zack Martin is. I have to believe Zack Martin is pretty firm in this stance. I find it very amazing how public he was about all this. Even this report is I wouldn't say out of character that sounds like, like he's doing something wrong, but it is not normal for him as far as the Zack Martin we've known for a decade.
RJ Ochoa, Blogging the Boys, joining us here on R&R in the morning. And first off, RJ, I love the kick, glory, glory. But
What?
It's a Man United jersey.
Well, I mean,
which they call a kit.
People watching on YouTube, sure, people driving around going, what the hell are you talking about, Pledge?
Yeah, but I was just saying, glory, glory. I like the way it looks. It's a good look. The Cowboys, Zack Martin, obviously the biggest thing. I'm looking at the way the Cowboys do their cap, and it's so structured in terms of how they do their deals, how far out they make them, to where everything kind of fits perfectly. Is this a minor inconvenience that Zack Martin is throwing into their salary cap plans, or a major monkey wrench?
Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys don't like to do long-term deals that are shy of 5 years. That's why when Dak Prescott got a 4-year contract, it was part of the big win that he got against them. And Zack Martin, he's older. He's getting close to his mid-30s. He's starting to show just a little bit of sign of wear and tear. So, yeah, I can't imagine that Zack would do a 6-year deal at this point. I don't think anybody at this stage would. It wouldn't be smart financially of him to do that either. So, but at the same time, I know this did feel like a surprise, and it certainly kind of felt like that in the moment. ESPN's Todd Archer reported the Cowboys and Zack had brief discussions at the Combine about a potential new deal. The Cowboys did restructure Zack's deal along with Dak's this offseason, which is an obvious implication that they plan on him being around for the foreseeable future. So I don't think that they really feel like their pants are all the way down. I do think that maybe they're a little bit shocked by how this kind of came about, but they have to have on some level budgeted for this. I would just be flabbergasted if they were like, what? Whoa, Zack, he wants more money? Whoa, that's inconceivable. So I mean, there is a rainy day fund. And they're getting kind of close to having to use it with everybody, and they're getting up against it. And it just feels a little bit louder than usual because of the large amount of people that are in need of new contracts.
Absolutely. RJ Ochoa from bloggingtheboys.com joining us here on R&R in the morning on the Buyers Barricades guest line. And you mentioned, Zack Martin, he's 32 right now. So you figure 6 years, 5 years, at the kind of money that he's looking at, they won't do that. I was trying to figure out, all right, what's the best way to do his contract? If he's $7 million underpaid or $7 million less than the highest paid guard right now after it was Atlanta that reset the market, do you add 2 years to what he already has? So you kind of keep the next 2 years kind of budget friendly, and then you've got 2 more years there. I mean, it's the Cowboys' way of kicking the can down the road, although that doesn't take him from 14 this year to 20. That $7 million gap is still going to be there.
Yeah, and I think that's why you're going to have to front load a lot of things in some sort of signing bonus. I mean, I don't know if the Martin household, needs a new den or needs a new pool. You know what I mean? But that money could come in handy right away. And that's the smart way to do this too. Just to give him that cash immediately up front. Everybody wins that way, and the Cowboys obviously have it. But yeah, I mean, you've got to get to market rate with him, and those are 2 words that are really uncomfortable for the Cowboys when it comes to the market in general. They don't like to pay market rate because market rate is expensive, and they're going to have to pay market rate for Zack Martin right now. They're going to have to pay market rate for Dak Prescott whenever they ultimately do get that extension done. They're going to have to pay market rate for CeeDee Lamb. They're certainly going to have to pay market rate for Micah Parsons beginning next year. They may be able to get some below market deals done for Tyler Biadasz and Terrence Steele. But still, you're talking about, in the near future, the next 9 months, doing 4 deals that are all arguably going to become players who are the highest paid at their position. That's difficult for any team as well.
RJ, I keep looking at the next 2 years of free agency for the Dallas Cowboys, and you've talked about a handful of those but some of the not top of the list, but important pieces to this team, whether it is Jaron Kearse or Malik Hooker, or, I know they just re-signed Donovan Wilson, but you're talking about 3 of their safeties getting potentially ready to also hit free agency soon. This seems like a win now window for the Dallas Cowboys, and the windows is about as good of an opportunity and as clean a look at a Super Bowl or at least an NFC title game as they've had in 30 years. Do you at least attempt to solidify something in-house this year with the cap space they do still have remaining, or are you still trying to plan as far out into the future as you can?
I mean, it's a cat and mouse game, right? Like you can't. I mean, people want to say like, go for it, win now, the window's open, blah blah. You can't. You have to be responsible, because if you don't, then something terrible happens and you find yourself behind the 8 ball. You've got to make some difficult financial decisions. We've seen some teams like the Atlanta Falcons get into pickles like that as of late, just across the NFL. I mean, so there is a sense of panic, but there also is. Look, I love Jaron Kearse and I love Malik Hooker, but I would bet right now that they're both not on the team next year. I don't think they're on the Cowboys' priority list. I mean, the Cowboys drafted DeMarvion Overshown out of the worst school in the country to help supplement the inevitable loss of Jaron Kearse, obviously, in free agency. They still have Israel Mukuamu, who's kind of the safety, cornerback hybrid to help replace the center field aspect that Malik Hooker brings. So you can kind of see the future at a lot of these places for the players currently on the team. But yeah, I mean, I think beyond what you're saying, beyond the fact that, you have one of the most talented teams in the NFL, certainly one of the most talented defenses, you also, and this is a point that many people have brought up, you're also in a conference that is super weak. You're one of the dogs in the conference right now. Like, you have no idea what it will look like next year. What if next year the Giants are more respectable? What if Josh Harris has the Commanders or whatever to call at that point in time? suddenly looking good? What if Jordan Love gets it together and the Packers are a threat all of a sudden? What if the Lions really do take a leap? What if the Niners find stability at the quarterback position? What if Kyler Murray comes back? What if the Rams are back? What if Baker Mayfield is good and the Bucs are good, right? Like all of a sudden, what if 5 to 7 more teams are competitive at the NFC table? Like beyond the fact, again, that you've got the pieces right now, you also have the opportunity, and that isn't always there.
What if? I keep waiting for you to break out in a Taylor Swift song or something. RJ Ochoa joining us here on R&R in the morning. Rob and Rudy are off today. James Pledger, me, Jason Minix, in for Rob and Rudy as we visit with the managing editor of blogging at theboys.com. Cowboys, their charter plane leaves for Oxnard on Monday. First real practice is Wednesday, although it's short. It's I mean, we don't go out till a week from Sunday. We're there the following Monday, the 31st, first day in pads, because that's when you really get to start learning something. But one of the things that's going to be interesting when we all get out to Oxnard is what is this offense, RJ, really going to look like? Because you hear Mike McCarthy say something, you hear Dak talking, you hear, CD talking. Hell, Brandon Cooks yesterday on the NFL Network talking about this fast-paced offense.
I mean, obviously, we just had the spring, to get going. But, the biggest thing that I noticed is, it's fast-paced. Like, we want to get to the ball. Coach McCarthy talked about attack, not waiting and sitting back, but going out and attack. And that's what I've noticed, through our practices, through our throwing sessions, this offseason. So the faster, the better. And so I'm all for that.
So you hear that, RJ, and that sounds so completely different than, we're going to, rest the defense, help the defense out, be a little bit slower. What do you actually expect to see out of the Dallas Cowboys offense?
I would say my biggest pet peeve of this offseason has been this insistence by people that the Cowboys are going to run the ball and return to the 90s just because Mike McCarthy said it one time at the NFL Combine. And if you read I wouldn't even say if you read the tea leaves, if you read the book that was published a week after McCarthy said that, the Cowboys cut Zeke and traded for the aforementioned Brandon Cooks. But yeah, they're going to run the ball, right? And I'm not seeing the implications that they're going to throw the ball 40 times a game either. But I think that Mike McCarthy understands the NFL owners he works for built their NFL kingdom on the shoulders of the NFL's all-time leading rusher and like to be known as a team that runs the ball. So he's a lot more charming and deceptive than people are willing to give him credit for. But that being said, Mike McCarthy, again, even if none of that had happened, Mike McCarthy is a West Coast disciple, and he's not one of these like young 30-somethings that comes from it. No, like this dude has over a decade's worth of NFL play calling born out of the West Coast offense. And the West Coast offense, wasn't made to ground and pound and move the chains and wear down defenses. And so I do anticipate a lot of space, a lot of motion, a lot of attacking across the middle of the field. I don't hate Kellen Moore as much as a lot of Cowboys fans do. A lot of people, it's low-hanging fruit to be like, oh, the Cowboys just run curl routes to the first down marker and that's it. But I do expect more creativity. I do think the Cowboys will be more willing to attack the middle of the field, some slant routes, things like that. They've got some tight ends they can work in that sense as well. They've got receivers who are unafraid to challenge. And that's where damage can be done. That's how you get players out in open space, which is where these kind of receivers can thrive.
RJ, which of these is most likely? Because Tony Pollard's about to enter a year in which he's going to probably take on a workload he's never seen, whether in college or the NFL. And behind him, with Malik Davis and Ronald Jones, there's just a lot of question marks. Is it more conceivable in camp that they leave the position as it is, or that while y'all are in Oxnard or shortly after y'all leave, they address the position with a free agent signing of some sort to bring in as depth to the position?
I know that NFL running backs are, really upset with the sort of state of the position. I mean, I'm sorry, it's reality. Like, it's the easiest position to replace. Not that it is easy, but everything else is much harder to replace. And it's also the least worth investing legitimate money in. And so I don't anticipate the Cowboys bringing in anybody. I mean, everybody's all worked up like, oh, man, they need a goal line back. Oh, no, what are they going to do? They've traveled 99 yards. How are they going to manage one more? That's so impossible. What a difficult task for them to do it. And even if you do buy into that a little bit, you mentioned Ronald Jones, you mentioned Malik Davis. They do still have Rico Dowdle, who they really liked a year ago. They have Deuce Vaughn, whose name cooled off so quickly. I can't believe how fast the world forgot about Deuce Vaughn. Not that he's a goal line specialist, but they do have Hunter Lupke, an undrafted free agent who's kind of this fullback, big Swiss Army knife dude who you can kind of push over the goal line like that. And again, I mean, if Mike McCarthy spent this entire offseason getting back into play calling for the first time in about 5 years and doesn't know how to get the ball across the goal line when he's down at the 1 inch mark, then this team's more screwed than we're really willing to give them credit for.
You know, I understand and appreciate what you're saying, but in reality, it's going to be a 3rd and 1. It's going to be a 4th and 1. There is that goal line situation. And look, I'm not saying, we should have kept Zeke just for that. And he's a great blocker, right? We know he's not a good center. We've seen that. But having that short yardage back, but you don't necessarily have to have a back. I could see a Hendershot either getting the ball in a situation like that or leading the way, bring in one of those tackles and lead the way. There's ways to do it without a back, but I do think, though, Ronald Jones won't be on the opening day roster. He's this year's version of Clinton Dix.
Yeah, that's really an unfortunate way to put it, but that's fair. And I agree with you. I mean, Peyton Hendershot, you want to get Jake Ferguson. Hunter Lupke kind of fits that mold. Oklahoma State has a position that they call a cowboy back, which is kind of what Blake Jarwin was born out of. And so that's kind of how I envision the Cowboys utilizing, Hunter Lupke. And, they've got a lot of tight ends. It remains to be seen who's kind of their favorite and who's going to kind of earn the job throughout camp. But yeah, that's like, you don't need to go get a Leonard Fournette or whatever just to kind of do that. That would be an improper utilization of resources. And since you have a long list of players who want new deals, you don't need to kind of be spending them on extracurriculars at this point.
RJ, rank the order of excitement that you are most excited for these things that you are going to experience in Oxnard. Spud Nuts, the seafood place that is down near the bay, or Topper's Pizza. Rank those in order of excitement.
I'm not a really big breakfast person in general. So my favorite memories of Spud Nuts have nothing to do with getting food there. So
it's just watching Rob consume the food.
Yeah. So that, I mean, while that's fun, it impacts me the least. So that isn't really on my list. The fish place is okay. It's more about the vibe that I'm interested in. But if I'm going all this way, you know what I mean? If I'm gonna have to get there, it's for Topper's Pizza. So that's number one for me. I would say that the fish place that is so simply named might as well be in Gilmore Girls, this lame daytime television show. And then Spud Nuts would be last. But I'm happy for the rest of the group to be able to experience whatever they want as well. Those are all very special things in different ways.
I'm so glad that you're happy for the rest of us. Now, if I remember correctly, you aren't a big seafood eater, correct?
That is one of the least true things you've ever said in your life.
I'm trying to remember who we went to Duke's in Malibu. And somebody didn't want to order fish.
He got
I want to say they were looking for chicken strips. That was either you or Bear, because I hear Bear in the background calling you out for lying about your ordering at the restaurants.
Look, some days you're in a certain mood. Those days are long. And so some days you're kind of seeking some comfort food. I'm not at all going to say that, I didn't, pursue some chicken tenders that day, but I was in a mood. You know what I mean? That's just kind of where I was at.
But I mean, Duke's in Malibu is say, let's go to Roost Chris Steakhouse. Hey, do you have a chicken strip?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not above admitting it was abnormal and abstract. But like sometimes that's just like you ever like you're showing somewhere really strange and you need something. I needed fuel that day. It's difficult to talk about a team that hasn't won a Super Bowl in almost 30 years every single day.
Man, you're backpedaling like Diggs. I appreciate it. That was good stuff, man. That was really good stuff. Now that was, I think, your first trip out there. You weren't sure what to do. You weren't as mature now. You're married. You've got a child. You've got a barking dog. You've got so many different things going on in life now. Now you understand the finer things of eating a fine meal on the company credit card.
Yeah, that's totally true. So I'm definitely going to be looking at some sort of swordfish, maybe some kind of like mac and cheese as a side, maybe some like garlic mashed potatoes. Maybe they have some sort of like lime corn. I'm definitely feeling that.
Start with the calamari. Yeah.
The one thing that I still like won't lose my mind over, and I mean I'm not here to knock anything, but you folks, this fair, not that fair, is the drive on Highway 1. It's cool, it's fine, but like it isn't life changing. It's just whatever, you know what I mean? Like, and you got to take it to get there, and it's a little peaceful. It's nice. Hey, look, the water. There's water everywhere. I've seen water a lot.
Stop.
There's stockers and ponds all around me.
Stop.
Let's be fair. You're not stoked about the drive because you hate the backseat driving that goes on when y'all are on the way back.
Yeah, that's actually a good and great point, Sledge. Good question. The very first one, I nobly didn't drink anything, so I could drive back. And it was late at night,
and we appreciated it.
Did y'all?
It was late at night. It was dark. I had never driven the area before. As I mentioned, it was Highway 1, so it was literally on the edge of Earth, like literally right next to the ocean. And there's one lane of traffic each way, so you've got to be cautious. You're hugging. Again, literally humanity with your vehicle. And I was going too slow for these guys. You know what I mean? Because they had places to be. They had a couch to sit on back at their house. So I was going a little too slow for their fancy, and they let me know about it.
Well, I mean, 30 on the highway is a little slow when you got people behind you flashing their lights and honking the horn. At some point, hit the gas and go.
Well, you made it home. You're alive today. You're welcome for that, Jason. That's me. I'm responsible.
Very, very true. Very, very, very true. RJ Ochoa from bloggingtheboys.com. Can't wait to see you in person next week out in California, my friend. Good seeing you.
Likewise. Y'all have a great weekend. And remember, O'Doyle rules.